So it's pitch by pitch, inning by inning, game by game. So players should consider every game as important, and the one that they're presently in is the only one that should matter because that's the only one that they can control.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I mean, look, you can't, we used to say this thing when we were in a pennant race, scoreboard watching, or, in golf, watching the scoreboard. It's like, there's a time for that. It's good to know what you need to do. It's good that if a certain team loses and you have to win, you know your objective. But if you're always looking and looking, I mean, it's kind of like as a hitter, I used to know guys that they would make an out or they would get called out on a pitch and then would run back and look at the video and go, oh, that was a ball. And I was like, sometimes I go, you got to hit that pitch. Something, don't let that umpire take the bat out of your hands, like hit that pitch. Mm-hmm. So I think we have that sometimes. You have to sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to moderate those strategies, mm-hmm. and worry about execution, take care of the business that you need to take care of, and everything else falls into place.
Yeah, so as a manager or a coach, all you want is each player to do his or her job.
Yeah, and a simple sort of situation, maybe an example is, well, I was catching for San Diego that year I mentioned, mm-hmm. and there was this kid pitching, really nice kid, Clay Hensley, and he had a good sinker, a good slider, and he was young, and it was bases loaded, no outs. I forget which inning it was. And so I called Tom, I talked to him, I go, hey, let me tell you something. I go, bases loaded, no outs. I go, these guys are good. I said, if you give up one run here, that's a great inning. I go, you're not going to strike everyone out. I said, let's be realistic. Greg Maddux used to say, I would rather give up one run for 9 innings than 5 runs in the first inning. Mm-hmm. So always keep your team within one swing of the bat, mm-hmm. and realize that the other team, they're good too.
Sure.
So you got to be you got to be realistic. Next thing I went back to plate, he throws a little sinker, guy pops a ball up, next guy hits into a double play. So, and he said to me, he's like, wow, great, thanks a lot. I was like, hey, it's just relax. But if I hadn't talked to him and he's trying to throw everything 120%, he might have given up 2 or 3 or 4 runs that inning. So, mm-hmm. That's just little things in the game that you can do to give yourself a chance to win.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about hitting and being that clutch hitter. Is that clutch hitter a great clutch hitter because he's able to perform normally under pressure?
I just think clutch hitting, or at least the concept, is just the guy who everybody wants up there in that situation when the game is on the line. And it wouldn't even sort of drill it down to just a game situation. Sometimes it's like if the team is slumping. I mean, because baseball is a game it's a mental game and momentum. And if you lose 2 or 3, 4 games in a row, and you always seem to get in this, we always seem to have this doom and gloom mentality, like, oh, what's going to go wrong now? Oh, it can't get any worse. You start really mm-hmm. screwing with yourself mentally. Mm-hmm. And I knew as a player, if we were struggling, I had to be that guy to get the big hit. I knew it. And I just knew that, unfortunately, at times, I had to be that guy. It just wasn't going to be anyone else. It was going to be me. Mm-hmm. So taking that burden on your back is something that players that have known to be clutch players have sort of embraced.
So having kind of proper concentration and focus, is that a key to get out of that pressure situation because you're just focused in the situation at hand?
I just remember as a kid, my dad saying to me, you always have to be hungry. You always want to be that guy in the big situation, that player. You want to be the guy at bat with the game on the line, as I said earlier. You want to be that pitcher who has the ball with the game on the line. You got to want it. You got to want to taste it. You got to want to Tommy always had that, the fruits of victory. You want to taste the fruits of victory. And these were ways of him just trying to alleviate the pressure so that you can execute. But yeah, but as crazy as they were and as funny as they were, they're true. I mean, that's like I said. I mean, some players, I think, are happy just being mediocre. Mediocrity, unfortunately, is comfort. I mean, I always love this quote by Pope Benedict the 16th, and he said that life can give you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Mm-hmm. So that was something that just sort of burned in my mind.
So the player should be focusing on the performance and not on the outcome of his at bat. It should just be right now, here and now. It's like no ifs, ands, or buts.
I'll even break it down more. Is that you get a quality swing and you hit the ball hard and you hit it on the screws, or you connect and make solid contact. That's a successful at bat. Mm-hmm. And if you do that over the course of 10 situations, you will be more successful than fail. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much the results. Sometimes the results are not even the barometer by mm-hmm. which it should be judged. It's the ability to execute and hit the ball hard under pressure. Mm-hmm. And if you do that consistently, more times than not, you will be successful.
So with concentration, the player can control the situation instead of the situation controlling you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I said to myself, I mean, and I would even break it down further. I would say, I'm going to get a good pitch hit. I'm going to hit it hard. In those situations, if I did, I was satisfied. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I failed. Sometimes I didn't. I mean, the last out of the World Series in 2000, mm-hmm. and I hit a ball really hard off Mariano Rivera, which could have been a double, could have been a home run, might have tied the game, but we lost. It was the last out of the game. But as I was walking off the field, I was like, I hit a rocket hard off Mariano Rivera. I mean, I can't really say it was a failed at bat, in mm-hmm. my opinion.
Sure. I mean, the best reliever in the game.
Exactly. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
atmospheric conditions.
That's it.
But generally too, I also feel that you have to have a feeling of gratefulness. You have to be grateful too. I mean, mm-hmm. and even in my life now, and I wish maybe one of my regrets is I just didn't do this as much when I was playing, because of course you're super focused on what you're doing. But every day I get up, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the experiences I had. Mm-hmm. And yes, you can look at a player's career, any player, and say, well, he did this, but he didn't do that. Well, he did this, but he didn't do that. It doesn't matter. I was just grateful to be in those situations and have the memories that I have and have the experiences that I had, and was able to have a successful career from someone who probably wasn't expected to do much.
Mm-hmm. How can you instill poise in a player?
I think there's certain factors like experience, maturity. I mean, players, kids, sometimes we take longer to mature. And I think experiences enable to, aptitude is the ability to retain. Mm-hmm. And aptitude is the ability to sort of put instructions into practice. And when you do that, then comes confidence. But confidence can lead to hubris. So you have to really have it. It's like cooking, Mm-hmm. When you're cooking, you don't put too much salt in, you don't
mm-hmm.
too much pepper,
right.
You don't put too many onions. You just have to have the right doses of things. And when you're done, it tastes good.
Yeah. So it's a skill that can be learned through experience.
Absolutely. Experience breeds confidence, and confidence breeds experience. I mean, and there's a difference between intelligence and knowledge. Mm-hmm. And, you can be book smart, but if you don't have the ability to utilize your instructions or the things you've learned and put them into common practice, then you don't have that's knowledge.
Right. So discipline and poise under pressure, the result is based on discipline and poise, yeah? As far as having a routine and having focus and concentration.
But also knowing when, and that's a good point, knowing when also to take a break. Because I think we can be trying to do something all day long, and if we're doing it wrong or we're doing it in a way, you're not going to accomplish anything. So I've always thought that time away, or at least resting, resting your mind, resting your body, is important too. Discipline, yes, is the ability to really focus on what you're on, getting better on practice, and sacrificing things that maybe you want to do to perfect your craft. That's what discipline.
And that's what you did, is
Absolutely.
you sacrificed your childhood. Your father had that batting cage built, and you spent every moment after school working and hacking because you believed, you visualized yourself, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, home run.
Every situation. And I don't feel like I missed anything too. When I was like, everyone was like, "Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't go to prom, you didn't do all these things," and I was like, "It's okay. You know what? But look at what I've accomplished by focusing and working on what I did. And even if I didn't accomplish, it still would have allowed me to be successful in something else, because success is not necessarily taught. Success is something you have to earn. Success is something that comes from within. And you can, like I said, if I never became a Major League Baseball player, I'm confident I would have done something productive, whatever that would have been, based on my lessons as a kid on trying to get better as a baseball player.
Sure. What about the power of oxygen, sticking to your routine, talking to yourself, your thoughts staying present in that situation? These are all tools that can combat pressure, yeah?
No question. But also, I think, like you said, is the ability to sort of concentrate on the task at hand and not get distracted. Understand that you have to put a reward system for good works and the ability to execute as well. Like, you can't, my father used to say, everybody wants the fruit, but nobody wants to grow the tree. So, I think once you grow the tree, you produce a crop, it's successful, then you can enjoy it. Then you can let go a little bit and have some fun and sort of, but if you're expecting the celebration with nothing that you earned, then that rings hollow. It's not a lesson you really want to sort of embrace, because the ability to sort of feel like you're taking something that you didn't earn, it doesn't make sense to me. So that's something where my mind doesn't compute that. That's something I never wanted to be on a free ride, so to speak. I always wanted to earn my keep and then enjoy my accomplishments after I did them.
Yeah, well, that's the Italian American experience. Our ancestors, the Rosarios, Elisabetta, came to this country to build a better future for you and your family.
And think about it too. I mean, a lot of them just got off the ship with the clothes on their back. There was no unemployment. There was no social help for them. They had to work. I mean, they had to sacrifice. They didn't have the medical attention they had today. It was really courageous to do. It's inspiring. And I say, today, people ask me, what can modern day immigrants learn from Italian Americans? And I said, everything. I said, because you can be authentically American and also authentically Italian as well. And that's what I love about the Italian American heritage and culture, is that we embrace our American experience, but we also embrace our heritage and the beauty and culture and food and history of Italy as well. So, and that's what's a great thing about this country.
Absolutely. Mike, when it was announced in November of 2019 that you'd accepted the managerial role for Team Italy, nobody was more excited than late and great Team Italy women's softball manager Enrico Obletter. Enrico said to me, "Mike has the charisma. With the amount of Italian Americans playing, you need someone from the United States with a professional background to make the necessary changes for Team Italy. Above all, Mike is a proud Italian with a profound and prolific background. So I'm dedicating this both to Bill Holmberg and Enrico Obletter in their memory and in honor and their blessing, because you're here with us today because of Bill's encouragement. I remember he putting it in my ear during the Olympic, qualifier, Roberto, you really need to, push for Mike to become the next manager. I'm like, I'm all over it. I can't, say it enough. And I actually wrote a blog about 8 years ago that said why Mike Piazza is the Italian American of the decade. Honestly, Mike, you're doing great work, and I want to thank you for everything that you do for us and inspire people like me and fellow Italian Americans and make us pledge allegiance to the Italian flag. It really is heartwarming, and all I can say is we're behind you. So here's a pressure situation. How can we get Team Italy on that global stage to become the winners of the World Baseball Classic?
Ooh, well, it's a big task, and I think you have to embrace that. The World Classic is an interesting event in the sense that it's kind of a little bit like the World Cup, in the sense you have to put the best team you can together. There's always going to be challenges in that, guys that want to play, guys that can't play, guys that are going to be injured, some guys signed. So the most important thing is to assess the talent that we have and put together the best possible team that we can. But also make it to where you can't have, for example, all Italian American guys. I mean, part of the concept of the Classic is to grow the game. But I also think that we are going to try to incorporate our younger players and really put them under the pressure to step up and to mature into. And I believe, look, one of the things that helped me in my career was being force-fed. I mean, I signed with the Dodgers in 1988. 1989 spring training, Tommy Lasorda put me in a big league game. I was out of junior college. I had 1 year of short season A ball. And I'll never forget it. I went down to West Palm Beach, we're playing the Braves, and it was like the 6th inning. Tommy's like, "You're in the game." I said, I had just converted to a catcher. And I get up and I'm catching Mike Hartley. I'll never forget it. Actually, he coached in Germany a little bit. And we were facing Dale Murphy was hitting when I was catching. I couldn't believe it. I was watching this guy on TV last year, and now I'm playing with him. Dale Murphy, Jody Davis, catcher, remember, for the Cubs and the Braves. Deion James, I had to play at the plate. It's crazy. I mean, and the point is, if you're prepared, sometimes you got to be force-fed. If you're thrown into a situation, I mean, I always joke, I don't know if it's true or not, but someone said, the Hawaiians teach their kids how to swim by just throwing them in the water. And I'm like going, wow, I mean, that's gutsy in a way. I mean, obviously, sink or swim mentality. I think that I'm an old school guy in that regard. So point is, we're going to try and put the best team together.
Sure.
We're going to have a strategy of game in-game management where we are able to be pragmatic. We want to be very tight defensively. We want to have a bullpen, which because there are certain limits, pitch counts,
Correct.
things like that. So it's a challenge, but it's going to be fun too, and we're going to have fun with it. And I think we're going to put together a fun team.
Yeah, at the Rome press conference announcing you as the new Team Italy manager, you said that you could have not done it without the help of the late and great Bill Holmberg, who has left some big shoes to fill. You've called upon MLB pitching veteran and pitching coach Vince Horseman and brother Wally Horseman to serve as a Team Italy bench coach. How did you arrive at this decision?
Well, it's interesting you say that. When Bill passed away, it just really, I mean, blew a hole that you can't fill, as you said. I mean, because of his passion and experience and ability to teach and scout and drill. And he was like, you know, we it's funny. I mean, you go, they have these things, celebrity chefs now, and a celebrity chef basically gets all the credit for the meal, but you got these 3 or 4 guys back there chopping onions, doing this, doing that, 10 and he just comes in and sprinkles his dust and puts things together, and then the meal comes out. They're like, oh, you're wonderful. But the work behind the scenes is the most important thing as well. And for me, when Bill passed away, I mean, that I said to the administration, I was like, it's like losing, not my right arm, it's like losing both arms and both legs. I mean, there's nothing, I don't know where to go. So we had some nice meetings and discussions, and I said, look, here's the deal. I'm going to have to get some help from the U.S., guys that are able to be my sous chefs, guys that are going to be the grunts and run the practices. And then I come in and I do what I do. You know, I'm not the best administrator on the grassroots level. I need help. We all need help. I mean, we need coaches. We need guys that are able to do what they do so that we all know what our role is. And I'd known Wally for years. I'd worked out with him for years. He's originally from Canada. He played with the Canadian national team. He's a teacher. He's a scout. He's been with organizations. He's worked with so many players, other Hall of Famers, Jim Thome and Ryan Howard, and I took him to Las Vegas years ago for a home run contest. We ended up winning money on that.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, look, he's a great guy. He's a great instructor. He's working now here at Mo Vaughn's camp. And his brother, who ironically was up at, I think, AA and AAA with the Blue Jays, and actually had worked with Alberto Mineo, who's one of our catchers. So it's a small world. I mean, baseball's a small world. So the fact is we retain these 2 guys to come over, get started this year, and really figure out what we have, figure out what we need. And they're going to be based in Italy, and they're going to be traveling around watching guys play. And I said, look, keep your eye out, because, you know, and I said to the players, I said, whatever you've done in the past, doesn't matter. Whatever you haven't done, it doesn't matter. I said, I'm coming in this with a clean slate.
Sure.
And we're going to figure out what we have. And I said, I don't care in Italy how old you are, where you're from. I'm going to put the best team on the field, the guys that I feel, number one, are the best, but also have earned the opportunity to play.
Well, when I spoke with Wally on the phone, he's like, we're in it to win it. This is not a resume builder by any stretch of the imagination. So I know these guys are serious and hungry, and they want to help you in establishing the team as a front runner in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, and the only way you can do that is that everyone has to know their job. And these guys are specifically talented in the sense that they're going to figure out what we have, and they're going to uncover some, as you mentioned, diamonds earlier. Hopefully they uncover a few diamonds in the rough, and guys that, and also, again, refine that talent, because they've seen a lot of ball players. I mean, Wally's worked with Jim Thome, I mean, Hall of Famers, guys, myself and other players. So, you know, I think when he goes over there and he does his magic, guys are going to respect him, and they're going to realize that they're going to have to listen to him if they want to get better.
Let's talk about Dr. Tom Hansen. Do you know who he is? He's the author of Heads Up Baseball and Play Big, Mental Toughness Secrets that take baseball players to the next level. I think maybe when you were playing, the Heads Up Baseball was out in the 90s, but his most recent book believes the ABCs of conviction and confidence are act big, breathe big, and commit big. How big is conviction and confidence in the clubhouse?
Well, I think one thing you want to do is instill a positive culture. And clubhouses are interesting. I mean, it's like probably the only thing I can compare it to is like being on a ship. You know, being a ship, on a ship, a crew of a ship. Maybe in the old days where you have the sails and the rigging and everything else. and maybe the modern day thing is watching like the America's Cup or the sailing. I mean, everyone has a role, and everyone has to work for a common objective. And if you have a few guys that aren't focused on the team goal, it can sink the ship. Figuratively, I mean, you won't go where you need to go. You're going to have problems. You have to get that whole unit focused on what you're trying to do.
And subscribe to the vision.
And realize that, look, it's not about individual accomplishments. I say all the time, I mean, 1997, I had one of my best years, but we were eliminated from the playoffs. I think the last day of the season, we didn't get into the playoffs, and it was like still an empty, hollow year. I mean, individuals win trophies, teamwork wins championships.
Right.
And there's been a lot of players that probably weren't quote unquote great players or heralded players that won championships. And they made a heck of a living because they were able to decipher their role on a team and figure out what they needed to do to help the team be successful and put aside their ego or this ambition to want to be in the press or the spotlight. And they were very successful in that, and that's the way you want everyone to have. That's the attitude you want them to have.
I get you. Dr. Hansen says, don't play not to fail, but instead play to have success. Is that how you became a Hall of Famer?
Well, I had a fear, as we talked earlier, I had a fear of failure. That was a motivator for me. Not to fail, I mean, that's a negative. I mean, you never really go out and have negative thoughts in anything you do, in my opinion. I think you always have to assume that you're going to be successful. You have to have a certain aura about it. You have to have a certain persona also too, away from this hanging out talking. I mean, I always had this sort of ability when I got between the lines. It was like a switch went on, and I just turned into like a sociopath almost. Like a psychopath. I mean, I just was insatiable. I had this incredible innate ability to want to go out every day and succeed at every opportunity I was given. It was just something that was organic for me. It really wasn't something I had worked on. It was just part of my fiber.
It was embedded in your DNA back from Shaka.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. It's true. It's just like, and also enjoying that as well. If it really pained me, for me, and I talked about this when I came up with the Dodgers and I was in the minor leagues. I mean, now everything's different in the sense that when I was at Vero Beach, I would literally come out in the morning. I would catch bullpens in the strings, then I would hit batting practice, then we would do some drills, and then we would have like a minor league game or whatever, and then I would go over to the big league game and catch bullpens up there or get a pinch hit or whatever. And then after the game, Tommy would roll the screen out and we would have batting practice sometimes after the game.
Where did you fit in the pasta?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, by the time we were done, it was getting dark. I mean, you never see that anymore. You never see it where after a game, the manager's like, let's get the screen on the field. Let's hit some more, And that was just, maybe it wasn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe it wasn't so much the idea of working on something specific, but it was just the idea of sacrificing to get out there even when you're sore and you just want to go back to the room and watch TV or go get, as you said, get something to eat.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when we go eat together, and then we would go have a beer together. It was just that was part of building a team. It's something I really miss.
Yeah. Yogi Berra once said 90% of the game is mental, the other half is physical. Are two of the biggest enemies in baseball performance tension and distraction? And how did you overcome these obstacles?
I think the biggest thing for me is, like I said, not having negative thoughts. That's all. I mean, and I think we sometimes are and this is just in life in general. I mean, getting up, as I said, being happy, being grateful. not getting up going, oh, you know, I wonder what's going to happen bad today. You know, that's just just a good metaphor for life in a way. Same thing in sports is no different.
Yeah.
I mean, enjoy it. I mean, if you really are not enjoying coming to the ballpark, going in the clubhouse, getting ready, pregame, your routine, then as I said, you know, you're doing the wrong job. You should think about it. To me, the best. It's a biblical saying: live your life with joy and sometimes preach. You know, the way you live your life and the way you go about your tasks, to me, is preaching in a way. That's infectious. It's one thing for me to sit up here and lecture you and say, "Dude,"
Sure.
but it's another thing when you look at it. You go, God, Mike works his ass off. Mike he takes care of himself. He's happy all the time.
Yes.
It's like that's also permeating with people.
That's the complete player.
It makes a difference. And it's like it was funny too. Some guys are just negative, you know, and it was just so annoying. You know, they would complain about their contracts, complain about this, complain about that. And I go, dude, fire your agent, get a new agent, like, you know, give it a rest. I mean, if you complain about what they're getting paid and complain, oh my gosh, you know, complain about they lost in cards. It's like, dude, give it a rest.
At the Rimini Con 6 convention last year or so ago, pre-pandemic, you gave a lecture on how to put pressure on the pitcher, which was very well received. You talked about doing your homework, hitting with your eyes, knowing the strike zone, swinging at strikes, and being the guy wanting to hit under pressure. What other things can we think about?
I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell for me. I mean, not making things too complicated. I mean, I think one of the, as I've said earlier, that you can't. The best teachers in life are the teachers that can take something seemingly difficult and seemingly complicated and make it more simple so that you can understand. And that is what great teachers, I think, do, because then they're able to break it down and communicate it to someone who can learn it and absorb it and keep it too.
How do you develop the confidence at bat so you patiently wait for the ball to come to you and make contact with a quick swing?
Just training for me. I mean, I remember when we get into this mold of practicing, I would go down after I caught in the bullpen. As a kid, I would stand in the batter's box and I would literally play umpire as I was in standing there. And there were situations, and Kevin Gross or Oral Hershiser guys, when I came up with the Dodgers, I said, "Can I sit?" They go, "Yeah." So then they would throw a pitch. I would strike ball. I wouldn't even have to hit because, as I said, you hit with your eyes first. And you have to learn the strike zone. That's number one. If you don't know the strike zone and you start chasing bad pitches, you're just never going to be successful.
And how do you gain the discipline to stay back with a short swing?
Just training. I mean, drills, things that are able to give you that confidence. I mean, as I was mentioning, Reggie Smith, he had worked with me on a certain drill because my swing was long and I was coming around the ball a little bit. And he put a screen behind me on the tee and said, "Okay, hit." And then, doing, I would hit the screen. And it would hurt because, as you're swinging the bat, if you hit a piece of metal with your bat, it's going to hurt. But I trained myself to literally keep the swing here where instead of the bat was coming around, it was going this way, the right angle. And I started getting it. And and at one point I could do it like with my eyes closed.
Right.
And then a few days later, I was in an inter-squad game. I'm facing this guy. He was actually a 6th-round pick from North Hollywood. His name was Javier De La Hoya, like the boxer.
Wow, what a memory.
Same, yeah, I'll never forget
Spot
it.
on.
But I remember I was having trouble with the inside pitch. He threw me an inside fastball. He had a good arm. I literally just put a swing and popped it over the wall for a home run. And I was like, wow. I mean, it wasn't easy, but it kind of a light went on. I was like, man, you don't have to go. It's not weightlifting. It's not like Olympic weightlifting where you're, straining to lift the weight. It's a very quick The analysis was like I was saying with the tiger or the leopard or going after the prey. That's the type of movement it is. It's a quick movement rather than a straining movement.
Yeah, what are you looking for in the batter's box viewing the opposing pitcher that you're about to go and combat against?
Well, I want to make him work. I want to make the pitcher earn it. Tommy Lasorda had this expression which I've adopted. Everyone hears me say it a lot. Don't help him out. Don't help him out. Don't help him out. Don't swing at a bad pitch. Make him throw strikes. Many times, pitcher makes good pitches on me. I just take my hat off. Hey, good pitch. That's part of the process. Just like get you next time. But the more pitches I'm able to see earlier in the game, earlier in my at bats, is the later at bats I'm going to know because I've seen them before. If you just swing at the first pitch, you don't see anything. Well, what happens when you get into a difficult at bat and it starts getting deeper and deeper and you haven't seen certain pitches? It's not going to be easy.
Right. Since baseball is a game based on failure, how do you learn from your mistakes?
Being able to file them away, being able to say, I'm not going to make that mistake again. As I was saying, when I was managing or coaching the Italian team, they had this little left-handed catcher, and he had hit 3 ground balls to second base in 3 consecutive at-bats, I think on the 3 of the same pitches. And I forget the kid's name. He was a really nice kid. So I said, hey, come here. I said, let me ask you something. I said, you just hit 3 ground balls and 3 at-bats to second base. I said, after the first ground ball, I go, did you ever think about doing something different? Moving up in the box, moving back in the box, moving closer to the plate, moving away from the plate, choking up on the bat a little bit more. I said, taking another pitch, swinging at another pitch, doing a certain approach, trying to hit the ball to the shortstop. I go, what? Why wouldn't you do something different? He goes, honestly, because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I was like, again, there's
honesty.
There's another answer.
That's
and
admirable.
Yeah, so
right.
I mean, it was funny, and I was like, wow, okay. But I said, I think his name was Luis. I said, Luis, I go, come on, man. I go, yeah, no, it's not that hard. I go, yeah, if you make an out on a pitch, and you know you're going to get that pitch again, because as a hitter, I know if a guy, I remember one time I struck out on a pitch up here. I swung through the ball. Guess what? For the next 3 or 4 games, 2 strikes, I'm getting this pitch. That's it.
Wow.
They're not stupid. They're watching you. They go, okay, I'm going to see if he's going to. Guess what? If I'm able to lay off it, then I could bring the strike zone back in. So if I looked bad on a certain pitch, all of a sudden all the pitcher's like, oh, a light goes on. Aha, I got him. I'm going to keep throwing this pitch. So you got to be disciplined enough to lay off it.
So hitters should have a plan before they go in the batter's box.
A plan that's actionable. That's simple enough, not too complicated, but also based on past successes or failures.
So hitting is thinking, like you said in Rimini.
Got to be a thinking man's hitter. You know, Ted Williams doesn't hit 400 one year without being a thinking man's hitter, and gutsy too. He was hitting .3996 on the last day of the season, a doubleheader against the Phillies.
Whoa.
And he could have quit or sat out that game and be the first player, I think, since Tris Speaker, was it, who to hit 400. And he played and he went 6 for 8 in a doubleheader. That's ballsy, man.
So how are we as hitters putting pressure on the defense?
Hitting the ball hard. You can't, if you hit, soft balls that, I mean, not soft balls, but balls that are not stung are the easiest to catch and defend. So hit the ball hard. When you square the ball up and you hit line, it's hard to catch, less reaction time.
Now, let's take a different perspective as a pitcher. How do you take the situation in when you have a bases loaded jam? What are you doing to get out of that jam?
I think have just as much ability in your process to take off a pitch than to put something on a pitch. So you have to have confidence in all your pitches. To me, and that's something as a catcher I was able to instill into my pitching staff. The ability to just be confident and as I said, have confidence in all of your pitches, not have one pitch to rely on.
Right.
You have to have an array of more arrows, so to speak.
Right.
And if something isn't working, you got to be willing to, as I said, be fluid and able to adjust in the heat of the moment.
As a catcher, what did you do to calm your pitcher's nerves in those situations?
Understanding their personality type, understanding that some guys are need more of a pat on the back. Some guys want to be kicked in the butt. Some guys wanted to be sort of more sublime or more nuanced motivation. I had a great relationship with Al Leiter. I mean, I caught him a lot, and I really enjoyed catching him. And we really had great interaction. We would talk about things. We would go over those scouting reports and communication too. I mean, going and talking with pregame preparation. I mean, I remember catching Woody Williams in San Diego, and we had a great repertoire, sort of camaraderie together. I really enjoyed catching him, and he trusted me. And if I made a good call and he executed the pitch, he would go, great call. Confidence, building each other's confidence up, it's important.
So how can players prepare themselves before arriving at the ballpark?
Just doing your homework, reading, watching games, reading scouting reports. I mean, I would go in before a series. We would have meetings. I mean, again, doing everything in moderation, because I think if we get too sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, too much information and not having the ability to break it down and put it in a form which we can use is not good. But unfortunately today they have a lot of, but it's also still baseball. You know, it's like it's not rocket science.
Right.
It's not brain surgery. I mean, we're playing a game. We're having fun. Being able to take the information and just put it in a way which that it will help us be successful.
Why is repetition important?
Correct repetition is important.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's that just instilling that muscle memory thing. Because when I get in the box, I don't want to think about a mechanical issue. I'm thinking about my elbow or anything. I'm thinking about just getting a good pitch to hit, and I'm trusting my swing enough to know that I'm going to execute. I mean, I was just yesterday at my golf club, and I was watching a couple of pro guys. They're getting ready for the Honda Classic, and I was watching these guys hit golf balls, and I was amazed. Could not believe it. They were just, they're at a whole nother level, and it was just so fascinating to watch them. Point being is, they're on that range all the time, beating balls, swinging, getting their swing. So when they get onto the course, they're not worried about their swing. The swing is already there. Now it's a question of executing the shot and confidence. So you can't go into a game, major league game, and worry about mechanics, where my head is, my elbow, my leg. That all has to be worked out on the side. And when you go into the game, you just have to worry about execution.
So you're taking the same principles you had in baseball and applying them to golf, and that's why Wally says that you kick ass on the golf course.
Yeah, it's my one competitive outlet now. That and occasional card game. No. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I think golf is a great game of battle with yourself. And just all the things that we had talked about, that's my only outlet now. Obviously, as a ball player, you can only play so long. So I enjoy it. It's my little competitive outlet. Sure it is.
One last question, Mike. What was the best piece of advice you ever received from a coach?
When in doubt, shut the hell up. Put your mind in motion before your mouth.
Absolutely.
That was several coaches, and as they said, they go, Mike, you're gonna go far because you know how to shut your mouth. So, zip it, listen, raise your hand, engage in a way that is respectful, and if you follow those practices, you'll probably be successful in whatever you do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. God
my
bless
pleasure.
you
You
for
too,
just
man.
spending some quality time with us here today.
My pleasure.
You know, Team Italy is in good hands. I really feel
Grazie.
like you're the right man, and all you need are the players to deliver the goods.
Speriamo,
Yeah.
as we say in Sicily, amonine.
Grazie mille.
Grazie voi.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Forza Italia.
Forza.